Welcome to Empower and Evolve, and I'm your host, Dunstan, and thanks for coming into today's episode. Now, this podcast is designed for those looking to break free from stagnation and enhance their well being through actionable insights and inspiring stories. So you'd never miss an episode, hit that follow button and follow us through our social media accounts. Now, if you find value in our discussions, consider sharing this podcast with friends who you think might benefit listening today. Now let's get started on this journey of empowerment and transformation. Hi, Dan here, and thanks for coming back to Empower and Evolve. Now, it's already in the middle of March, and I'm pretty sure wherever you are, especially here in the Philippines, it's pretty hot. And when the weather's already starting to be really warm and hot, it's the official sign that it's ready summer. And what is the best question that I think a lot of us would like to cover for today? Being a parent of myself, how can I create lasting memories with my kids this summer? So I want you to sit back, maybe grab a pen and paper. We'll talk about summer and how we can make great lasting memories with our kids. Let's dive in. Now, summer memories. I mean, at least let me just give a context to a lot of folks here. Pretty much summer right now is about a good summer break is about 2 months, right? And if you're in like the United States, spring break happens just about this season. Maybe I think if I'm not mistaken, around April, and it's a time of the year where everybody gets to go out, enjoy the weather. At least here in the Philippines, you like to go out to beaches, right? But why is it really important? I mean, outside of going to the beach, right? Aside from it being a prolonged break from schoolwork, I mean, a lot of the kids that's listening today, I'm pretty sure will be very excited with summer because there's a summer sports fest and there are a lot of summer activities that you can do. For some, maybe they would take advanced courses or semesters in college, while some take special lessons as an individual, like maybe art crafts, sports. But as a family, I think it's important that we cherish summer and just like any other season as something really sacred and special. Why? Because the first importance of having great summer memories, it's because we have shared experiences. Shared experiences very powerful, like vacations, family outings, or even simple activities at home. It just creates a sense of togetherness and connection. I mean, thinking about COVID, maybe this is a little bit of fun here. I remember a friend of mine jokingly saying, me and my kids went on a vacation to the living room. I was like, so you guys took a vacation in the living room? But when you think about that, maybe they were doing things in the living room that, prior to COVID or even after COVID, people don't really do anymore. So maybe a good example is, watching a Netflix movie together, or maybe something from Disney Plus, or any digital platform, right? The shared experience in itself, wherein people communicate, people do the same activity together, creates that bond. Because you're not only doing it as an individual, being aware that you have another person beside you doing the same thing increases your feeling of belongingness, right? Now, the second importance of having great summer memories is you have an opportunity now to build positive associations, where it serves as a foundation for your future happiness and resilience. I remember growing up that I'm so excited for summer, especially when I was in middle school or high school, because that's the time that I look forward to the summer sports fest. I mean, it's a 2 month period where a lot of the people living in my neighborhood have a sports fest, right? I played basketball back then, and I did some other sports as well. But the summer was the time of the year where it feels like you're still doing your regular school year, because I'd wake up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning to do training with my basketball team. Right? We'd finish at 8 in the morning, and then you have your day, whatever you want to do. After lunch, you'd start watching games for other teams, other games, and then maybe you have a chance to play because that's your scheduled game, right? And in the evening, you go out with your friends, or maybe go home, spend time with the family. So it was really, really exciting, because I was personally looking for something during those months. I was looking forward to something, right? And during that summer, I had the chance to build my skills. I had the chance to develop camaraderie, understanding teamwork, uh, understanding what a role player is. It helped me mature during the summer of my personality as a person, and it also helped me to build my connections with the people that I was working with, my teammates. Summer was also a good time for me because every summer, me and my choir mates would have a weekend out of town. So it was outside of what we usually do, which is sing in the church. But every weekend, or that weekend of every summer, we take an overnight stay at some resort. Of course, we'll ask money from our parents, right? But it's a time wherein we get to do things outside of what we normally do. We get to do team building activities. Actually, as early as high school, I was getting exposed to team building activities, and it just made me feel like I was in a second family. And those family members that I grew up with in the choir, my teammates that I was playing with basketball through my high school and college years here in my neighborhood, right? They're my extended brothers and sisters, right? Even now, decades after, whenever I see them, it just feels like time paused for me and for them. And whenever we start talking, we just start diving into that conversation of how we were before, funny memories and experiences we shared before. And in the family as well, your association with your family members, maybe it's a time for you to spend a summer vacation in your cousin's place, right? Wherein you find new networks to maybe help level up the skills that you have. Talking about that personality development space. The last importance for me, when I think about summer and the memories I build around summer, is having the chance to unplug and connect. All right, so you might be telling me, Done, unplug and connect are two different things, right? I mean, two opposite things. When I say unplug and connect, unplug from your technology. Um, if you have been following my podcast, I think I've mentioned a few episodes ago about having a digital hiatus, right? And being able to disconnect yourself from technology because you have the chance now to physically be with the people face to face versus having to work with them or collaborate with them in school or at home using your phone, your laptop, right? It just helps you to be fully present. Um, One thing that I also remember when you talk about unplugging and connecting is just like what I mentioned earlier when you're building positive associations. My basketball teammates, we don't really see each other every weekend during the regular 10 months of regular school year or 8 months of regular school year. But it's funny that during the summer break, pretty much we'd see each other every day for the whole 2 month period. And that 2 month just being with them establishes that connection, right? You know, looking at it from a different perspective, right? I'll put some parallelism to this one. When you are in the working space, you've been working for 8 hours a day, 5 6 days a week, um, and especially in my age, my peers, my friends are also in the same space. They've been working, they have their own families, and even during at our age, when we talk about summer, we get a chance to message each other in our group chat, right? Like, any plans for the summer? Can we set a date? Let's go have a out of town. And imagine when I say an out of town, that's how many families going together in a summer trip, maybe a two day weekend or maybe an overnight stay, and that's a group of about what 20, 30 individuals. It gets my children, their children to network as well, right? They get to know who their uncles are. I mean, not blood related uncles, right? But your neighborhood uncles. And sometimes gives us an opportunity to act like an uncle, you know. I remember growing up, I'm excited with summer because, and I also dread summer because that's the only time when we have summer outings. I get the chance to be pulled to the side by one of my uncles for a one-on-one conversation on teenhood, or even manhood already. And we talk about the adult things like raising your family, career-wise, future plans, and they don't really have the time and the luxury to do that through the rest of the year. Maybe it's just a license, when you think about that summer vacation, that family outing, that clan outing, or that trip as an avenue for them to be able to bridge that connection. Makes some sense, right? It does make some sense. Now, I'd like to ask you, are there other things that you feel that is important that you get out of having summer memories with your kids or with your peers? I'd like to find that out in our comment section, either in our Spotify or our YouTube channel. Or you can send us an email if you want to share how a summer activity you had with your family or with your kids has made your relationships better, made it stronger, or help you bridge the gap of being the parent and having children, that generation gap, or how you and your children was able to have shared experiences. I mean, I love to hear those stories. Send those stories over to empowerevolving@gmail.com with the subject line summer memories. And I love to hear those stories. And then if you want to ask personally, my advice on maybe your ideas about summer activities for your kids, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to collaborate, answer these questions for you. All right. So let's go back. We've been talking about its importance, but what can you actually do? I mean, I've mentioned a couple of things, like more obvious one are is a family outing, right? And earlier at the start of this episode, that story about having the vacation in the living room is actually one activity you can do. You know, when you have a kid, like maybe around 5, 6, 7, you could build a tent in the garage and imagine you're having a camping in the garage, right? I mean, for those who are lucky enough to have a lawn, I mean, that's gonna be a great experience for them because you could do bonfires, you could roast marshmallows, you could share stories, or maybe do stargazing, right? But being creative in a family activity or a family trip is definitely worthwhile, right? Whether it's like going to a museum together. I mean, personally, it's still on my bucket list to go to the National Museum here in the Philippines. And imagine, I've been living for decades already, and it's not too far. It's not like I'm gonna have to take a plane ride, but it's in my bucket list, which points me to actionable item number 2. Create a summer bucket list together. maybe as early as the year before, or maybe as early as December, you ask your kids what do they want to do for the summer, and see where you can put your schedule align with that activity, right? Maybe if you, as a parent, you might want to take a leave, or maybe schedule it on a weekend. And when that, when you think about that bucket list, right? The more obvious ones would be beach trips or trips up north in Baguio, which is a really cold air province, right? But it could be as fun as having cooking sessions or learning how to cook, or maybe learning a sport together. Um, Me and my daughter, we enrolled ourselves in badminton classes, and there was a time when she was really hooked into badminton. For a couple of weekends, we were actually playing badminton on a weekend. So it helped build my relationship with my daughter, and at the same time, we were ticking off a few things off our bucket list, right? You could also be, I mean, that's spending a lot of money. Maybe when you think about that, taking lessons. Another maybe creative idea is maybe learning how to do origami. Spend an hour at home doing art work, art classes, maybe doing origami or paper fold, the art of paper folding, right? And create a collage or a mural out of origami pieces, right? The important thing here is you and your kids do something that you haven't done, and you both are interested to tick it off their bucket list, right? It doesn't really need to be expensive, but what's important there is it's a shared experience, right? I cannot emphasize that shared experience part, especially with your kids growing up. They will remember that memory, right? Another thing that you could do, um, and this may help, address your digital detox, right? Is maybe do a summer reading challenge. At the start of the month, have them pick a book and then have them do a book report. So without using technology to analyze the book or give them gist of the book, they'll have to read the book end to end, right? And you ask them questions, right? Have them do a summary, right? Just like I mentioned, it just helps them to detox, or at least find time within the 2 month period where they'll actually hold something that's paper. And mind you, it's rare for me to see kids holding paper and pocket books, knowledge books or self help books. If it's in paper, I think it's sacred. It's not. I mean, for those book lovers, they like the smell of paper, right? And that's why they prefer the hardbound or the softbound books over the e-books. But it's more of you trying not to touch your phone, you trying not to touch your tablet or your iPad or maybe your Kindle, and really have that full sense of that sight, the smell of the paper, the touch of you moving and turning the pages, right? It just gives a different experience. Another activity that you can do is going through local parks, whether you're just playing in the playground, whether you're taking nature trails or having picnics with you and your kids, right? It's a shared activity. You might want to try to do something creative with nature trips or local park trips, wherein you could go in advance and then have hide some things there and do a scavenger hunt, right? Just to put some adventure in that activity, right? One thing as well that you could do, especially if your family, you don't have the budget to go out, is spend movie nights at home. I mean, I mentioned that earlier. Only need popcorn and maybe a subscription. And nowadays, a lot of people I know pretty much have their own, either they have their Netflix, Disney Plus, or any streaming platform, and watch a movie together. You know, there was this story, and I'd like to share. Me and my brother had this one time wherein he borrowed a projector, and lucky enough, we had the wall that was big enough. So what we did, we arranged blankets, pillows. We got pillows on the bedrooms, right? Placed it on the floor and watched a Netflix movie. I can't remember what movie it was. I think it was Wonder Woman 87, if I'm not mistaken. And we just made a couple of big bowls of popcorn and soda, and we watched the movie, as if we were in a park, right? And just be creative, right? Just be creative with that. Maybe the last thing that I could share um, is try to do volunteer work. Right? There's not much summer volunteer work here in the Philippines, but I'm pretty sure you can find something that you and your family can volunteer, whether it's an animal shelter, whether it's doing local charity. Um, but what's important here is, as you have a shared experience with that activity, right? It gives you an avenue to teach valuable lessons about empathy, about compassion, right? About social responsibility, right? Having that early exposure and seeing the parents leading the way actually puts that seed of volunteerism, that that extra sensitivity to others. And I think that's a very meaningful way to spend your summer, right? I mean, if people have activities in the Christmas wherein they go around, like what I do before, I go around and give food packs. You could also do that in the summer, right? And I mean, there's no harm doing that. I mean, it doesn't have to have a special occasion. But again, it's having the activity together, that shared experience, that conversation that you build, the fatigue, the time spent, cooking maybe or doing the activity is important, because as you understand, as this is a shared experience, there's that shared accountability. The emotions are also shared. The connections are built. So, pretty much that wraps up today's episode. And remember, it's not about spending a lot of money or planning elaborate vacations, right? It's about being present. It's about being intentional. Like, why are you doing this? And it's about being engaged with your children, or with your peers, or with your parents, right? Summer only happens once a year. A lot of people are busy the 10-month period of school, or maybe, at work. Keeping it as a sacred activity. I have my own stories to share, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to bore you guys to death with it. But, having that shared experience as a family, and when I think about it, it's what, 4 decades already of shared memories gone by. I could still remember every summer activity my family had. And I'm pretty sure your children growing up will remember that and will try to replicate that as well with their own children. So it's a legacy that you all can also leave your children being parents, right? So I just hope that, when you have your activities this summer, make it filled with love, laughter, and unforgettable memories. So with that, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Again, here at Empower and Evolve, our goal is to help you become a better version of you. So I'll catch you next week. Stay safe. Enjoy the summer. Bye for now. Hey, buddy. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey of empowerment and growth. Now remember, it's not just about evolving. It's about embracing that incredible power within you to become the best version of yourself. Keep striving for greatness, because together, we can create a world where empowerment knows no bounds. And if you find value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with someone who could use that little inspiration. Until next time, stay empowered, stay inspired, and keep shining brightly on your path to evolution. With Empower and Evolve, you have the tools to unleash your potential and rewrite your story. Let's continue to evolve together.